What's up, bro? Have you ever been on those sales calls where it feels like you've tried everything you possibly know under the sun and they still don't close? Well, the longer I've been in sales, now it's coming up to like, I don't know, 8 years now, 7 years now. The longer I've been in the game, the more I've realized that this game is actually like a video game. And there's cheat codes. There's certain cheat codes you need to know, certain cheat codes you need to be aware of in order for things to move your way. Now, I've trained reps to go from $0 to 40K a month, 30K a month, 50K a month. I've helped business owners scale their businesses to multiple billions of dollars a month from no sales knowledge at all, right? And help them train their teams. And the process I use to do all of that is almost the same. Yes, there are nuances. Yes, there are intricacies, but there are several cheat codes that I live by, principles that if you knew now, you guys would be in a better position. So in today's video, I'm actually going to break them down for you in order to help you all level up, okay? This is one of the first ones I'm going to make this year that's going to actually help you change your game seriously. So without further ado, let's crack into it. Okay, my people, so we're going to crack straight into the video. I'm actually going to show you now some of these cheat codes. Okay, so as you can see from my screen, sales, you can look at it as a video game, to be honest with you. And if we break it down into different levels and different areas of skill, there's certain things you need to be aware of in order to actually close at a high level. And in this video, I'm just going to explain to you exactly how and what you need to think about in terms of each part of the sales process. We're going to break it down into 4 key parts, 4 levels, and each level is designed to share new insight that I've learned that if you actually implement the hacks, like it's going to help you really, really well. So let's go into this. So yeah, do you ever feel like sometimes you can't close no matter how much you try? There's a few things that I train my guys at top 1% closers that helps them actually understand the game of sales. Most reps, they're just playing blind and they don't really understand like all the intricacies that are involved. So the first, if we look at the first part of the sales process, is the beginning, it's the opening of the call. And arguably, this is the most important part of the sales process, okay? Now, the first code, or cheat code, if you will, is the first 3 to 8 seconds actually make or break the call. What do I mean by that? If you start your sales calls weak, if you start your sales calls sounding like a little bitch, if you start your sales calls with very bad body language, because okay, before I go into this, 80% of communication is actually non-verbal. Okay, well, 80% of communication is non-verbal if someone does not really trust your verbal communication, meaning that a lot of weight needs to be put on your non-verbal communication. And if someone just met you from an ad, cold ad, even if they're warm, doesn't matter. They're going to subconsciously trust the non-verbal signs you're showing them. So if you're speaking in very supplicative tonality, you have very bad body language, like closed off, like you'll actually often find that if you start your calls closed off, your prospects will also mirror that and also be closed off as well. You know, if you start your sales calls with a lot of presuppositions and assumptions and beliefs that put the prospect in a position where you start to believe, oh yeah, this person doesn't have the money, for example, that's a common one reps have. What you will tend to find is prospects will mirror that back to you. So this is the reason why I say the first 3 to 8 seconds matter so much. And there's more I can go, there's more like I can share, but this is just the tip of the iceberg to help you understand that, okay, cool. The beginning is everything. Don't start weak. Don't have poor closed off body language. Don't have bad non-verbals. And don't say any dumb shit that's going to create sales resistance. Now, the one thing I don't like is when I hear a sales rep trained by a specific sales trainer. Look, I'm not here to start beef with anyone. That's not me. But I hate when people start sales calls when they say stuff like, okay, cool. So, yeah, are you ready to jump straight in? Because we've got about 45 minutes. Or they say something like, you know, what do they say? They say stuff like, "Oh yeah, are you ready to make a decision at the end of the call? It's just a yes or no." Like just fuck all that shit. Why? You're creating unnecessary sales resistance. That's the one side of the spectrum, right? But the other side, the complete other side of the spectrum, is when you have people that are too friendly. Okay, and I say that being too friendly causes sales resistance because if you're too friendly, how are you ever going to handle objections and pinpoint people's errors and in ways of thinking if you are just their best friend? Not even just their best friend, you're their best friend that, like, the feeling is you're their best friend that will never ever say anything wrong to them, or that could be seen as challenging, or, you know, it's that friendly vibe. It doesn't work in sales, it doesn't work in any area of your life. It doesn't work. So just don't do that shit, okay? You have to come with authority, strong way of selling in the beginning, then that's going to make or break your sales call. It's going to help you start the sales call at the right tone. Now, I've reviewed thousands of sales calls from sales reps, owners, different departments of teams, and this always holds true. Not even just my own calls, the thousands of calls that I've reviewed and seen and broken down at this point. Because it's been quite a long time that I've been in this game for now. So second, this is my personal cheat code. I don't set frames. Okay, I hate frame setting. I hate saying stuff like, "Listen, what's the typical frame set?" The typical frame set is like, "Hey, my name is Joe, and listen, this is how this call's gonna go. I'm gonna ask you a few questions just to see if this is gonna make sense for you, and blah 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 blah." Right? Like that is a frame set. Why do I not like frame setting? We're in 2026 now, okay? Even back in 2024, this was a thing. More and more people have been on sales calls. So the second you say that, you will actually, depending on the offers you sell on, you actually see people's eyes or body language change just by you saying that thing. It's almost like a switch goes off, and they, at the start of the call, they were very excited, and then the second you set the frame, it's like, oh shit, this is another sales call. It's going to be another, it's going to try, force me to buy stuff. Like that is typically what I have seen. So, and a lot of my students have as well. So my way of selling is I don't set frames. Now, there is a case where you can, and that is typically when you're selling easier markets, markets where there might be new markets, markets where the avatar is not used to sales calls. They're very green. They're like, it's like selling to babies. Like that's honestly the easiest, the best way to explain it, because they just don't understand shit, and you're actually gonna help them by setting a frame because you're letting them know how the call is gonna go. But again, that is only for that specific case. I also wouldn't set frames for in the B2B space. I mean, depends again on the level of sophistication. I personally don't set frames. How do I set frames without explicitly setting frames? We do it covertly or implicit or under the radar. I ask specific questions. There's 3 or 4 key questions, really 4. I ask in the beginning of my sales calls that I share with my top 1% closer students that helps the prospect set the frame for themselves. And because you ask the questions, it's almost as if you set the frame without you actually setting them. Does that make sense? So you're not saying blah, 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 this is how the call's going to go. You're asking questions in the beginning that help the prospect set the frame for the call, so you can then guide them without actually creating resistance. And that's the level of sales that I am all about. I have been about for the last 3-4 years. I'm just being more vocal now because there's too many reps that are just selling the wrong way, in my opinion. Okay, so this is what works. You're going to get less sales resistance, and you're going to actually get people trusting you more. The quicker people trust you, the easier it is to sell, and the faster you can actually get on with the process. So that's the second cheat code. And all of this is to do with the beginning, right? Now, we move on to level 2. Now, level 2 is discovery. Now, discovery, in my opinion, is arguably one of, if not, I mean, every part of the sales process is important, but it is one of the most important parts of the process. Discovery is where sales are won or lost. Okay. Now, my third cheat code here is, so before I even expose this one, yeah. So most people in sales, you get different types of people in sales. You get people saying they're pain digging instead. You get people saying, you get people being super obvious and bad about pain digging. At the end of the day, pain is always present. Whether you want to say it's dead or you shouldn't do it, you are doing pain digging without actually doing pain digging in an obvious way. It's the same with me, right? Like, I'm actually on that page. I agree. Like, being obvious around your pain digging is shit. And there are ways, and I'm gonna go through the other cheat codes that I have to do it in a less obvious way. But how do you make pain digging effective? Is you get people to relive the experiences that they have gone through that have caused them to be in this position that they're in now, looking for help. So instead of me asking a question, which I have seen in you see this in maybe Cole Gordon's script, you see this in Jeremy Miner's. Like, instead of me saying like, okay, what's the biggest challenge you're facing with regards to this, or what's the biggest challenge you're facing with regards to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever they're struggling with, or what's keeping you up at night, or what's your problems, or okay, your goal is here, you're only here. What's the Bill Walsh way? Yeah, how do you bridge that gap? Like those obvious stuff. Like that's not a bad start, okay, but you don't win sales that way. How you actually win or start the process of winning a sales call is you get people to relive the pain. So you ask more targeted questions where, let's say I'm selling sales training. I'm like, okay, cool. So if you were to take me back with you and look back at the last 10 calls that you had, what specific things were you hearing and saying from your prospects that caused you to actually feel like you need to actually change your sales process? And this is where real sales starts. Why? I've asked them a question that's going to get their focus from external to internal to get them to be like, okay, cool, let me relive my experiences. They're going to use you can watch their eye movements and see where the eyes move to let you know if the question landed. Okay. And typically what you'll see is one of two things. They'll either look down or look up. They're looking down, they're digging up like pain and emotion, bad experiences that they're trying to run away from, right? And that's typically where you want your prospects to be if you're asking the right questions. That you can see there's physical pain, because physical pain is stored down below. Okay. And again, I break down all these nuances and non-verbal communication inside the Top 1% program. But this helps you know you're moving in the right direction and helps you shift your prospects' focus so that you don't get stupid objections like, I need to think about it, or now it's not the right time, or I need to speak to my wife. Why? Because they are feeling the pain right then and there with you, which they want to run away from. Okay. Very, very important. And again, I can talk about this for days, but I'll just keep it short. Cheat code number 4 is make them sell themselves. Okay, so what is this all about? Now, the best way, and this fits into pitching, this fits into, it's just an overall sales principle, is you're not supposed to tell prospects like, you need to do this, you need to do this. You have to have them tell you what they need, what their importance is, or whether they even feel the program can help you that you've just pitched, or whether they even feel a need to change. Like, that's the reason why we ask these questions. Okay, when I first started sales, and I see a lot of entry level sales reps do this, they're telling prospects what to think, what to feel, how they should view things. Don't do that. Ask questions to get them to tell you. That's really, really important. The fifth, which is what I love talking about more advanced stuff, to be honest with you. But the fifth, and this is why I love it, is pre-handling objections through the lens of qualification. Okay, so what does it mean to qualify? So when you qualify someone, you're judging whether they are fit or not a fit for you and your role or your position or your program or whatever. It's what qualification is all about. Now, and if you're qualified, it means you have the authority. I'm going to break this down. You have the status, you have the authority, and there's a level of like control you have, right? Now, if you take that position and we think about objections, like people have objections stop the sale. And when you're trying to objection handle, typically you are not in the position of power, the prospect is, right? That's the reason when a prospect says, I need to think about it, this, they're controlling the conversation. So everything you did in the beginning to try to set the frame and gain status and everything falls short, because now they've just taken the power back. They've just zipped it out, and what can you do? And in any sort of social interaction, the person that needs the other person the most is the one with least amount of power in any interaction. Okay. So how do we then solve this issue of handling objections, maintaining frame, maintaining control, dealing with people with high ego and all this shit? How do you basically like deal with this whole whirlwind? And this used to be one of the biggest issues I faced in sales. How do you deal with these struggles? Take back power, take back control, take back frame, and dismantle the objections. Well, you qualify them and pre-handle objections before you pick. So one of the things I say is stuff like this, especially if I see obvious signs that someone's got limiting beliefs or objections that I can just hear and see after breaking and decoding, in which I break down in the program, is I'll say stuff like this. Look, I'll be very honest with you. I do feel like you're a good fit. All right, you can see this kind of typed out here. I do feel like you'd be a good fit for what we have. Although I do have some concerns based on what, a bit of what we talked about earlier. Are you open to me sharing them with you, so that I could just make sure that, number one, you'd be the right fit, but number two, we'd be also the right fit for you, and then you can go into it. It's like, so one of the things I noticed is you don't actually have a strong why, or you don't, I noticed the language you used when you went and talked about money. Now, usually people that say this, they're usually in tight financial positions. Now, the one thing I don't want to do to you, this is just an example, by the way, the one thing I don't want to do to you is get you excited about what we do, talk up the program, get you visualizing your success, and then at the end I tell you what the investment is, and then you realize, fuck, you have no money to make this work. Right? I don't want to put you in that position. So actually for you, what I want to understand is, before we even go through what we have and how it works and what that looks like, is what do you actually have available in hand to actually invest in yourself so that this conversation that we're having can be put to bed today? We both know if you don't invest, nothing changes. So let's have that uncomfortable conversation now, so I can actually serve you, so we can help you level up. That's one way of pre-handling money objections if you hear concerns like that. Other things could be if you're hearing partner-based objections where they're passing on responsibility through their language, mindsets around, oh, is growth even possible in their field? Like all this shit. Again, like I can talk about sales for years. But yeah, one of the best things I learned to do is qualifying first before you pitch them, because you actually take the power. So listen, I know this is what you want, but before I even give this to you, yeah, before I even give this to you, I need to make sure you actually fit in line with what we have. Okay. Very, very powerful. So this is all discovery-based cheat codes. Now, if you do these things alone, right, you've just gone from, and I see different types of reps, different programs. Well, there's too many programs out there, but you basically shift from like entry level, beginner, basic program to like towards the upper end of the sales space, just from that alone. And I'm not taking the piss. I'm being serious here, right? So that's why it's very important you actually pay attention to the shit, right? Let's move on. Now we go to yeah, that's a typo here. Okay, yeah, still in discovery anyway. Now we talk about further points in the discovery. Okay, similar thing to the last thing about pre-qualifying is the understanding that objections are misalignments of beliefs. Okay. The only reason why you get objections in your sales process is because beliefs have not been put in order for you to ask for the close at the end. So if someone believes that the industry is too small, or that paid advertising doesn't work, or that your company's a scam, or that this, or that it's not possible for them, those beliefs are going to cause them to have objections. Or maybe they even have beliefs around how sales calls should go, right? And it's because you haven't unpacked these beliefs that you get objections. So all you actually have to do, and this actually, I'll tell you guys a story. Yeah. So my second offer, which is where I really like built a name before for myself, where I hit 20, 30K months consistently, top the leaderboard in 2 months, blah, 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 blah. Made them, I sold so much, they had to increase the price of the program from 7 to 15K and in just 2 months. What I realized is I looked at my calls. I was like, okay, cool. So people are buying, some people are buying, they come on the calls ready, they have the right mindsets, right? But then I looked at the ones that didn't buy and I was like, okay, cool. So what beliefs did they have that caused them to say those words? Okay, cool. So now let me think, what beliefs or frames can I insert into the sales process to get them to buy into these beliefs, to then get them to extrapolate based on those beliefs? Because if you believe something, you will then take an action based on those beliefs, right? So I can insert that into my process. And therefore, I'm basically building, and I hear, a really, really good sales rep. He's closed at like 99%. But I learned this before I came across him. You basically build the buyer in your sales process, because everyone's going to come with different beliefs, different perspectives, different mindsets, different life stories. But the one constant is you. And if you know there's certain beliefs that they need to have, your job is to build those beliefs as you speak to them. This changed the game, right? That's why we call it top 1% closer, because a lot of these hacks, if you really study them and master them, and we're talking about spending months to just zone in on one thing, it changes the sales game for you and it helps you sell different industries, different avatars, like there's no tomorrow. So instead of me giving you a script saying, hey, question number 7 is uncover their beliefs that are hidden. No, it's like, cool, let me actually set frames. And instead of me telling you what frames to set, you can think, okay, cool, this is the belief they need to have. Like getting out of the comfort zone and overcoming fear is important. Okay, cool. So let me tell a short story to set that. Let me tell a quick statement. Let me use a quote that from a book, right? All these things now become possible because you understand this principle, right? And this is the level of conversational flexibility. Like I said, you can use quotes, you can use stories, you can use this. You can use so many different things, but you can only do that if you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. And it all comes from this. The objections are the misalignment of beliefs. To close at a high percentage, you build your buyers on the sales calls. Now, I've put a sticky note here in the B2B side, right? Because I've also sold B2B at a high level too. When it comes to B2B sales, A really good thing to understand is also what is the sales process and structure around making decisions. Okay, you speak to the key decision maker. What happens after? What stage of the buying cycle are you in? It's another concept we teach, right? This helps make sure that when you do ask for the close, you're not getting, oh, I need to review this with, the tax team, or oh, I need to fucking get this approved, or I need. No, I'm already aware of what that process is. Therefore, also I can either speed that up by inserting things to reduce their beliefs or change beliefs, or navigate the process to make sure I'm only asking for the sale at the right time. So this again applies to the objection point I mentioned earlier. So very, very important. Now, 7, again, these are not beginner stuff. It's not beginner stuff here. So is mirror questions. What is a mirror question? A mirror question, in fact, what's the best way to talk about this? Have you ever been on a sales call where you ask a question, you're like, hey, so, and I think one of my YouTube videos is a good example. You ask the goal question, and the person's like, you ask, hey, so like, obviously you're looking to grow. So how much do you actually want to make for this? They're like, oh yeah, I just want to make as much as possible, So you've asked the question, you've tried to get an answer, because the reason you ask questions is to get an answer. The answer you're looking for is a goal. Someone hasn't given you the answer. What the fuck do you do? Well, you have to re-ask the question in a different way. I can't just say the same words again. I have to have different ways of asking the same question to get the outcome I want. The simplest example of this is like, okay, cool. Obviously, I understand you want to grow as much as possible. And it's also very important to have some direction, because if not, we're just going to keep going until we hit Mars, Jupiter, the sun, in tangible terms, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, in terms of like revenue. So like, let's bring it down and understand in the next 6 months that where do you want to be. I'll just ask the same question in a different way. Now, the best sales reps have 10 to 20 different ways of asking the exact same question. Why? Because they understand that easier prospects, you can fly through things, but the difficult ones require a bit of work, require you to have the flexibility conversationally in order to handle these situations. Again, I used to do exercises. It's from one of my mentors. I love him to bits. He used to get me to rewatch my calls, write down every question I asked, and then write down 5 to 10 different ways of asking the same question so that I can actually ask it even better the next time if I'm dealing with difficult prospects. Now, you only need to do these exercises when you're selling to difficult people like financial advisors, just jaded people that have more of a B2B personality, more of a corporate shield, because that's when the skill is needed. If you're selling fitness, you're selling typical biz up, you don't need that. Like, and I'm not here to shit on anyone who sells that, but like, you don't need that. Okay, really, you don't need to spend time studying the shit. But this is more for those, whether you run a business or you're a rep and you're in that field, or you're just curious about leveling up your skill set. This is something you want to be aware of and practicing to be a top 1% closer. Okay. Cheat code number 8. Yeah, this is not really related to discovery, but this is one thing I've learned is, yes, you could use this in the discovery. Good marketing makes sales easier, but just don't rely on it. So I have sold on lots of different offers, well-known ones, not so well-known ones that just started, my own offers. I still sell my own offer outside of sales as well. A few different agencies I run. And the long and the short of it is, if you have good marketing, your sales becomes easier. Like, if you have a lot of content out there, your marketing's good, you've got good social proof, you don't need to be as skilled. And so you'll often find that the people you speak to are more ready to buy. You have less objections, there's less issues completely. Now, you can use this to your advantage, and it can also be to your disadvantage. It's to your advantage if during your discovery, you're referencing some testimonials, you're referencing that brand, you're referencing those materials, and you're even referencing some of the quick wins they may have experienced from your free content in the sales call to make it a no-brainer for them to buy without you even pitching. Right, so it's when good marketing helps. Where it hinders you is if your entire sales journey, all you know is good marketed off. And so when you deal with difficult prospects that haven't gone through your marketing, they show up to the call, you ask them, have you gone through the material? They're like, nope. And you try to reschedule them and they're like, nope, this is the only time I have right now. I'm very busy, blah, blah, blah. What are you going to do? If you don't have the skill set to handle those, and who knows, that sale could have been 20K, could have been that's 2K in your bank account. Extend that. You've got upsells, 50K upsell, 100K upsell. That lifetime value of the customer is probably 20K, 15K, 10K. You get 5 of those every single month. That's 50 fucking grand gone out the window annually. And a sales professional who doesn't have good skills makes, I don't know, 50k, 100k a year. You know, if you have that one piece, you could bump up to a different bracket from 100 to 150, from 150 to 200 or more, just from understanding how to sell to difficult avatars. So my best advice is, especially if you're looking to round yourself as a closer, opt for easier offers or more easily marketed offers in the beginning. If you really want to get good, play around with the more introductory or newer offers that are out. Play around with them, right? Because it'll teach you a lot. It'll teach you different objections. You'll hear different objections. You understand exactly what I mean. And some of the earlier things, like not setting frames, will make sense because, hey, you can't set frames sometimes with super cold people that have no idea who you are and have been on a shit ton of calls, you know. So yeah. Now, the last level is what we call closing the deal. Okay. It's the end. We'll whiz through these. So, cheat code number 9, assuming the sale. This is more non-verbally, okay? Everything I talk about is more nuanced, but non-verbally, assuming the sale. So, your tonality doesn't want to be supplicative, especially from the pitch to closing. It wants to be more confident, higher energy. Like, listen, this is what we're going to do. Speak with certainty. Why? Because people buy from people with certainty. I'm not going to ask, hey, so do you want to move forward? Do you like the program? Like, I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say stuff like, listen, okay, cool. So that's all I have for you now. Before I go through next steps, do you actually feel from what I've gone through this can actually help you level up and change your situation once and for all? That's important. It's very important because when I started selling, it's one of the first things my first mentor helped me change is around that confidence, around that certainty, because people buy people that are certain. Okay. Don't ask for permission. The second, or number 10, if you will, is custom pitching only. I only do custom pitching. What does that mean? And this is the reason why when I sell, I have people feeling like they manifested me, my program is for them, they feel like I speak to their heart, all this stuff. Part of this is because I only pitch to what they need. So every issue they pointed out, I'm going to parrot back those issues, help them understand this, how we fix them, help them see visually, okay, what the impact of that is going to be in their business, and make sure that they confirmed every step of the way. So I don't do generic pillars. I don't say, hey, we've got a 3-month program. The first this. No. I speak to that individual and I teach all my reps to do the same. And this is the reason why the sales calls are filled with so much like love and care and attention and trust, because we genuinely care for our prospect. You have to pitch tailored, bespoke, custom. I make the program feel like we just made it for them and it's specifically for them. That's it. I don't want to make them feel like they're on some conveyor belts, right? This enabled me to close more, make more by selling and taking less calls. That's why I share this. And the last is very, very important. Study objections like your life depends on it, because it does. Okay. And I had one rep who was selling for Charlie Morgan. I helped him just close at a high level, become a better closer, make more money, help him break his own beliefs of what was possible selling for him. And I remember when we started, he had no idea how to handle objections. I was like, bro, what the? He wasn't making bad money, and I thought it was decent, but like, you don't know how to handle objection. He said to me, I just didn't think it was possible or needed, or I thought it's just like it's not needed. And he's come from a program I actually respect. You know, program I respect the guy. He's doing good stuff, and he's also from the UK. But yeah, he came from that program, and I'm like, bro, like, how does that work? You know, and so when I trained him on the objections, that's when he was able to fucking knock deals out the park and even start pre-handling better. Because you can only pre-handle once you understand how to handle objections, right? And my biggest change in sales came from, in the beginning, studying it every single day. I woke up, straight out of bed, study objections. Then I learned what to say when this person says that, or that person says that. Because there is only so many objections you can ever face, okay? And so to round off the cheat codes to sales, objections and studying it like your life depends on it is what's going to help make sure that this whole game of sales, this whole game of making money is easier than you are actually making it right. All right, people, so these are some of the cheat codes. Now you know things that you can change in your sales process to make more. And a lot of these things I personally use to literally go from making no fucking money in sales sales to make well over 30k a month consistently with the skill set. So if you want to level up, like you want to actually be a better closer, understand sales overall, make more money, have financial freedom, I have a program. It's called Top 1% Closer. This is where I train closers personally, to help them level up their skill set, to help them understand real sales and build a long-term career. Like I said, I get some people asking me, wondering, what do I do? What the hell's going on? What's with the YouTube? Like, this program is designed to literally help you in sales. Because there's a lot of misinformation out there. It demystifies that and help you guys level up on the skill set base. We cover mindset, life calls, and even life after sales as well. Okay, so if you're interested in making more money and you're tired of being stuck without knowing what the fuck to do, book in a call. Let me help you out. Let me help you make more money. Check out my Instagram, Top 1% Closers, and you'll see a lot of my student testimonials and results as well. Because we help people make money, 20k a month, 30k a month. Our business owners even level up. And the last business owner I was working with makes about 200-300k a month in a new business that I helped him start. Come on, guys, it's time to level up. So yeah, if you're interested, let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next video.